staring at you.
I don't
what
care.
the hell's wrong with this guy?
I'm not going to bluff it and act like I'm somebody I'm not. We got to be serious. It's a big interview. The wig.
The Pink Pony Club. Look at that tight pony on.
And this is just a tribute to the guy that got the Leafs the first pick.
So was he unavailable? That's the thing. Right?
So here's what happened. All right. If you're not familiar with this, for whatever reason, I don't know if you've been living under a rock the last 24 hours.
Yes.
The Maple Leafs won the lottery last night.
Yes.
And at the studio with ESPN, John Buccigross is running the whole operation, and Gary Bettman's there, and Gary's holding a briefcase, which was kind of strange.
Yeah.
And some guy comes out of nowhere there he is, with an unbelievable ponytail.
And a Nintendo Switch in his hand.
And a Nintendo Switch. And he fires up a Leaf lottery win. And there's Matt
Forever
Sundin.
indebted to that man.
Yes. And I believe his name was Alex DeLuca. Doogie has spent all day calling law firms in New York, calling the NHL, ESPN, and
can't get a hold of him.
Apparently he's not available.
The best part is, Hayes, he's tied up. What is he doing? Running another lottery in the middle of the day?
Yes. He basically every day trains for next year's lottery. Right? He's like Happy Gilmore, 364 days until next year's lottery.
I really want to know this guy's story now. Like if he's like from the mailroom and they're like, hey, put a suit on and come and stand here with that.
Dude, you in a tight pony and a road white alumni jacket is just a phenomenal look. Like, it's really a classy look.
But I'm sorry. We're going to have John Chayka on at 4:30, and O's going to be looking into the screen going, what do you think you're going to do with the pick?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be dead serious, and he's going to be staring through his screen, staring at you with a wig on. It looks amazing.
Everybody's got to do their own job. It's like, crowd noise, hostile environments. If you're going to get distracted by a tight ponwa.
Wow, I love that look. Listen, what a 24 hours we've had. Like, we were introduced to Tight Pony, JP Tight Pony, or whatever we were calling him last night.
And we owe him our life.
And we really do, because you know what's happening. All around the league, it's rigged. And, right? They're trying to figure it out for the Leafs.
Like serious grown men saying, this is just not possible, it's rigged. And I'm like, well, were you saying that when the Oilers got 4 or 5 and 6 years?
Yeah.
Like, really?
It's not. And I was telling Hayes off air, as big as conspiracy theory, like I'm a huge conspiracy
You
theory.
are knee-deep in conspiracy theories.
Like Building 7, World Trade, like that type of stuff.
The Kennedy assassination,
But I'm like this one, I'm like, there's no way. It's 2026. There's technology and stuff. Tight pony guy, like there's no way that it's rigged.
Right.
Technology and stuff.
It's not.
No, it's not.
But I had somebody call me today going, well, isn't that just a coincidence that, the Leafs have an offseason, they want the Leafs right back in the mix, give them the number one. Oh, San Jose, SAP puts a lot of money into the league with their analytics and stuff. Well, how about number 2 for you? You can move up. So that was where the sour grapes was coming from a lot of people outside the market. But it's like anything. You say it all the time, Hayes. People love the Leafs and they love to goof on the Leafs. It's either one or the other.
Love or hate them.
Love or hate. That's what it is. So you knew that was going to send shockwaves through the league.
It makes it so much worse. Like, I think if you're in Vancouver, they have a long history of losing the lottery.
That's crazy. They
never win it, and furthermore, they just go down all the time. Like they consistently are going in the wrong direction. And I would have to believe 80% of their disappointment is just focused on their own team. 80% is probably like they're the worst team in the league by a mile. They've been all in on the tank. McKenna's a Western Canadian boy.
Yeah.
It's star power. You step right in. It's just perfect. Maybe he can get Pettersson going again. 80% is hyper-focused on their own market and their own sorrows. The other 20, though, is the Leafs jumping over them.
Well,
I may have those numbers wrong. It may be closer to 60-40, maybe 50-50. I can't imagine. But the fact that the Leafs, of all teams, jumped over Calgary and over Vancouver is just got to be sickening in those markets. I totally understand it.
Hazy, I got to tell you got some pep in your step right now. I haven't heard this excitement in your voice in 3 months.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, it was a really If like, woe was me. We have awesome jobs, and we get to come in here and talk and have fun every day. It's amazing. It's a tough year talking about how awful the Leafs are every single day. Like, that's the truth. We talk about the Leafs a lot, clearly, on this team. And there's just so much negative energy ever since Game 7 against Florida.
Yep.
From that point, basically a calendar year later, I don't remember any positive stories. Like, not that really hit the Richter scale. You know what I mean?
Not big one. Like, Easton Cowan has a good night, all that type of stuff. But there wasn't a lot to go hang my hat on that. Hang my hat. Like, they won 3 going into the break. That's what it was, right?
That was
they went out west and won 3, and you're like, okay, I can see a pathway here. Let's get through the Olympics. But there wasn't like these monumental Matthews chasing 70. Like, there wasn't that. This past year didn't have it.
No, it
didn't have the pop.
A very disappointing, tough season.
Didn't have anything.
No, it didn't. And the reality is, I said the other day on this show that the players are getting stale. The coaches are getting stale. There's weird mojo in the front office. The president,
it was all
stale,
CEO, Brian.
Everything across the board. And what happened last night is you just got a jolt of adrenaline that, at a minimum, doesn't change the fortunes of the franchise, doesn't guarantee anything, doesn't mean they don't have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
What it did was just give you something to be really excited about in terms of watching likely next season. Like, let's assume they take McKenna. Not a guarantee.
Right.
But let's say they take McKenna, and he shows up, and he all of a sudden, rookie camp matters. All of a sudden, the first day of camp, when's he playing his first game? Who's he going to play on? It's a completely different story. Well, not that if they stayed at 5 and they took Verhoff or something, it wouldn't be a cool story too. But first overall picks they've got a different mojo to them.
For sure. Right?
It's a very different mojo. It changes possibly the timeline of what they're planning on doing, and can this kid play with Matthews next year? There's a lot changed. Like,
I've heard all the theories, Brian. I've heard now it's time to just start accumulating assets, because you lucked out. You got the number 1 pick, so it's like wheel and deal. Try to get the number 2 pick from San Jose, get a defenseman, get another prospect, and do that with other players, and then maybe you have something to move forward with.
Well, you're right.
As opposed to saying, hey, we got a young player, and then 2 years later we might just be junk with a young player. I've heard all, like, I'm sure your guys' phones were the same as mine. I got home and I had 50 messages I had to wheel through. This guy's scenario, that guy's scenario. And literally it put me to sleep. I was so tired reading it. But there's all different kinds of options. And I think that's just a good thing. If you get that lottery ball, it at least might give you some options to look at things differently.
That's the word. Options. And that's why I'm going to ask John Chayka,
options from the pony.
Options from the pony, exactly. But does it give him another pathway? He's not going to tell us his plan, and rightfully so. He shouldn't. But does it change your thought process of maybe, 24 hours ago you were thinking one way? Does it change your thought process? Because you're right. There's a lot of people going, now you've got an opportunity. If you wanted to, it could potentially accelerate a rebuild. If, again, a lot of it hinges on 34. If he goes, hey, not for me, well, now you can move picks and get players, live players, all of that type of stuff. It just gives you an option. And I think that's where probably Leaf fans should be excited.
Well, and I think Austin Matthews, last night, did not change the fact that the ball is in his court.
Agreed.
In terms of what his plan is with his future. Now, maybe he looks at this and thinks, let's say it's McKenna, hey, there is a guy who I think I can play with, maybe as early as next year. I think that's asking a lot, clearly. But maybe within the next couple of years, if this is moving in the right direction, there's the guy they've been looking for, a top 6 forward, a top 6 winger who can score and be a playmaker. And that is effectively the description of McKenna. So I'm sure it will pique his interest. He's still the captain of the Maple Leafs. He's got to be ecstatic with the way that played out last night. But it's still, the ball is in his court. But I am of the belief, and I think it's been pretty well sourced, that the ownership of the Maple Leafs have no interest in a scorched earth rebuild or anything like that.
No.
Because of money, jerseys, ticket sales, selling hope. Matthews has always represented that, and he's represented that for 10 years, and he still does today. Nylander, to a little bit of a lesser extent, but he still does today. A first overall pick is one hell of a marketing campaign.
Right.
Like, it may soften
if
that
he decides the other way.
If it goes the other way, ownership may look at this and say, you know what? Maybe we don't need to win in the next year or two because we've got this shiny toy that's going to go first overall that every Leaf fan can't wait to see play.
More
and people have to understand,
yes, exactly,
from what I've seen, like Craig might fill us in at a later date, but people need to understand Gavin McKenna, if this is what goes down here, this is not Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews. Like, you're talking about a guy that can be as far as position, a scoring winger, like it might turn into some type of Patrick Kane, which is still incredible. But they're not getting – do you know what I mean?
No, I understand
people need to calm down because this city can go nuts, and they're like, oh, the last time we got Austin Matthews, this is a game changer. We're going back to this and back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs to cool their jets because – I don't know. There was people at the World Juniors that were saying they would take other people other than Gavin McKenna.
Well, it's not a guarantee they're going to take him.
But you're still going to get a really good player.
But exactly. Regardless.
That's
and again,
thing.
we said last year no one was saying Matthew Schaefer is the second coming of Bobby Orr. Nobody. Like this time last year it was kind of thought, yeah, he probably goes first overall. And then by the draft it was a lock. Like everyone knew that they were taking him.
Right.
And he blew expectations out of the water. Celebrini the same thing a couple of years ago. The hype machine of the Bedards and the McDavids and the Sids and the Ovies, those are very, very rare. And I agree with you. That is not the case here. But it doesn't mean that McKenna can't or won't be a very good player or anyone they might take with that first pick. But, listen, it was like the balls literally fell their way last night. And they desperately needed that. They needed some positivity. You mentioned it, like Bones blowing up. The amount of Leaf fans – 2 days ago, they're like, I'm done. It's over. I'm sick of this. Then they win last night, and it's like, you're right back on the bandwagon.
You know how that is.
Right back on the excitement
right
train.
Right back on the bandwagon and all that. But
everything's moving in the right direction now.
Now they've got to get to work, though. And I think that's where John Chayka, Matt Sundin, the whole management group got to figure out what the plan is. And there's lots of work to be done there. Now, the cap's going up. Now, every team gets to spend an extra, $8?
A lot of money, $8.5 million.
That's a really good player you can add to your roster, or two if you have value. But
Jamie, if you can find one, if you piss that money away on fake good players that you just want to pay to spend it, good luck.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'm just saying that there is some flexibility. I can't look at you. I'm sorry. We might have to turn the screen on.
Well, Joe,
guys, I know what angle you want.
Did you send? I sent that picture.
Was that you?
Group chat. Yeah, because Gurdeep just sent me a note saying, "Oh, looks like the bad guy in Kindergarten Cop."
Yes, the dad.
The dad.
You're the dad in Kindergarten Cop. And we need Arnold Schwarzenegger around to lay a beating on you.
But there's got to be a better pony picture of this guy.
This is a tribute to getting the first overall pick to Tight Pony Guy, and you guys are trying to poke fun now.
No, it's true.
Pay your respects.
I love that pony. Give me a little shake. Give me a little. Man, was he on fire at the draft lottery last night? Running security with his Nintendo Switch.
He did everything. He did everything.
He was so great at that role.
Think about the people that we have identified that work at the NHL office. Remember the guy in Bob there?
See, that's disrespect.
That's
Does
exactly
he have a pony?
Yes, that guy's got a pony.
He had a pony. He loved his pony.
No, but the guy at the NHL offices in Buffalo, remember that guy with the flowered suit?
That guy at the bar the night before the draft was hammering drinks. I've never seen more of a veteran at a bar than that guy ever in my life.
The thing is, Hayes, if you guys recall, we did not know who that character was with that big bushy mustache and with the Hawaiian shirt on, killing rum and cokes. And then we sat down at our spot at the draft, and he was directing traffic on the floor, head of security.
I have never laughed that hard in my life.
I know.
Because this was
there he
is. The amazing thing is that was 10 years ago at the Matthews draft.
Yeah.
It was in Buffalo. This draft is in Buffalo.
It's all coming together.
We need to get back to that lobby bar 10 years later and hope that he's still running security.
Are we going to the draft now?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think we got to. I mean, how about Buffalo tonight? How many Habs fans do you think are going to be in attendance tonight?
Well, I can't wait to watch that game. I'll tell you that.
Me too. It's going to be an awesome series.
I can't get a read on it though. Like who? You can make a case for both teams to win that series, like, handedly.
Definitely. They're both playing really well. They're both good teams.
The thing is Buffalo is different than Tampa. Tampa's got the skill set in that, but Buffalo can fly. They might be the fastest team in the league. Like,
they are
from
flying.
top to bottom.
Jamie,
too, right?
I think the message from Marty will be, like, you guys think you're a real deal team? Like, don't even think about being out of energy from that first round against Tampa. Because if you guys are who you say you want to be, this has got to be a marathon, and there's 3 more rounds to go.
Yeah.
So it's like, get back on the horse, giddy up, fire up the pone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get the pony going down in Buffalo and in Montreal.
But
because,
you know what?
Rock.
Yeah.
The thing is, that Tage Thompson, he's a handful. Like, they're a different animal. Like, Buffalo's a different animal. Like, their star players are
definitely
big.
Yes. Well, that's going to be challenging for Suzuki tonight and throughout the series. Is Braden Point is very shifty and crafty and really a smart player, but he's not overwhelming physically.
He's not going to blow you up physically. Where this Tage Thompson's 6'7" and he's got a reach on him like Mario.
Yeah.
And he shoots the puck 105 miles an hour.
Right. No, they both have mojo going too, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at. I'm curious to see how the defense kind of get activated here as well between Hudson and Dahlin and Byram and Dobson's healthy again. Like there's a lot of really active defense that I think are going to factor into this, and both goalies not a ton of history, right?
Yeah.
The crazy thing, I look at things a little bit differently, weird some might say. I still don't even think that Tage Thompson, I think he could score 65 goals if he was a right winger with a really gifted centerman. Like a guy that could put it on a tee for him all night.
Yeah.
I don't think center ice is where he should be playing. It's working right now. It's worked for the Sabres. But I'll tell you what, man. You ever get if you ever get Ron Francis in his prime playing with that guy, he'll score 65 goals.
Playmaking center. Yeah.
Yes. A guy who's responsible and can just flat out dish it. That guy will rip home 65 goals the way he shoots the puck. I'm telling you, it'll happen. I don't know. Who knows? But that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good series regardless.
Yeah.
And
ought to be a great series.
Vegas is back at it. Let's see if Q's come down off the ledge.
I want to see Quenneville going nuts tonight. Like, I want to see him going nuts.
He had a case, though. You go back and look at the one angle, it's not even close.
Well, between him and Tortorella, like, both of them have a short fuse behind the bench. Like, the two of them will lose their minds over different things.
That game was really close, and then that play was the difference.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, Vegas with a chance to go up 2-0 like Colorado did last night.
Yeah.
And now you look at Colorado, and I know Minnesota hasn't lost on home ice yet, but I just don't know how you're going to slow those guys down. Like, McKinnon is a possessed human being right now on the ice.
See that hit on Boldy?
That was mean, but I like it.
No, I loved it.
Like, and that Boldy's been great. Like, he's a significant piece, obviously, in Minnesota. And if you've got a player like McKinnon willing to lay
I am going to blow you up, and that was a hard hit.
Yeah, that was a great hit. Like, he was vulnerable there, but that's that's within the realm of the rules, right?
How about that McKinnon that power play they had rocking last night? And I know it's had its struggles this playoffs. There's another thing. I got 15 messages about that saying, just give those guys a cup and cut the crap. Just cut the crap because it looks pretty scary right now.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota is obviously a really good team, and they're chasing it. Yeah. Like, they are swimming upstream right now.
Yeah, like their next game. Is that tomorrow? Or do you get an extra day?
I don't know if
didn't
they play
even check,
tomorrow.
But they're, obviously their next game is critical. You can't lose.
It's a mandatory.
Mandatory win.
Mandatory.
Or else they're done.
It kind of feels that way for Anaheim tonight, too. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of feels that way that if you go down 2-0 against Vegas, who's a veteran team that's starting to kind of feel it now.
Probably lights out, man.
Yeah, you probably got to get this one tonight. And it's the same thing that happened with the Edmonton series. Edmonton won the first game. Anaheim came back and won game 2, and then they settled into the series, and they ended up winning.
You got to find a way. Exactly.
Absolutely. All right, Craig Button will join us today. So Craig's take on, who he would take first overall in the NHL draft. Who else could go second, third, fourth, fifth? The other Canadian teams in the top 10, Vancouver, Calgary, and Winnipeg. What does he make of Habs and Sabres tonight? So we'll catch up with Craig. We got Jerry coming up. Jerry's percentages, just over an hour. The Jays got swept this afternoon down at the Trop. Their bats are just freezing. They are freezing cold.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of
16 and 21 now. It's like you're starting to get worried.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
It's starting to resemble
get
like
worrying.
the beginning the 2 years ago where it's like, are they ever going to start hitting? Like, is Vladdy going to wake up?
Yeah.
Like, it has that vibe where it's like one setback and they get a little bit of mojo and they win 2 or 3 and then they take a couple series and then they just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch. It's not very entertaining.
No, listen, they're barely getting on base right now. Like they're not manufacturing any rallies, any hits, any runs. Vladdy was 0 for 4 again today. It's a struggle, and Scherzer didn't have a positive update. Not that that's the problem right now, but you don't know when he's going to pitch again, and what are they going to do at Barrios? And they're in one right now, so they're off tomorrow, and. Actually, we're going to see a Blue Jay tomorrow. The Lincoln Cup is going on tomorrow. And Tight Pony, you better bring that pony to the golf course because I'm taking you down tomorrow at the Lincoln Cup. So more on that and who else is involved. The Tight Pony will be at Copetown stealing Snickers.
Do you want me to fire up Tight Pony on the G course?
I think it's possible that
we better keep it real.
Yeah, I don't know if Lincoln wants us to do that.
There might be,
or
like
TSN.
if there's a gift basket there, you better watch yourself.
We will. We can't wait.
Around.
Ernie Clement's going to be there. Ryan Reeves.
I'll go right back to the well, and I'll get my wife her little after-dinner treats, and I don't care. I'll steal the basket this time. I don't care.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got my head on a swivel as of tomorrow. So the Lincoln Cup. We'll tell you more about that. Ernie Clement, Ryan Reeves involved. It's going to be awesome. Craig coming up. John Chayka, though, the new GM of the Maple Leafs, will join us. What was his viewing experience like last night? What does he make of having the first pick, and how does it change what his plans are moving forward? How does he address the Matthews reports and his future in Toronto? A lot to get into with John. We'll do that next.
The Tempo's inaugural season tips off against the Mystics on TSN.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. We should compile a list of the greatest ponytails, probably in Hollywood history. A lot of people are pointing out Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal had a great
But
pony.
the problem is he's
better, at the end of the show, before the show's over, on the fly, I want you to be in touch with Joe from the Bridge. On the fly, be listing top 5 ponies all time.
All
and
right,
if the guy from last night is not involved, you're dead to me.
Well, he may have to be excluded because it goes without saying the lottery ball security guy is on the list.
Yes.
Right?
He might be just make him.
He is the list.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Seagal's got to be high on it.
It's so weird watching him now where, like, he's weird, like,
very strange
somebody
guy.
will run at him and he, like, points at the person. The guy throws himself on the ground. Like,
He's had some groceries over the past.
Yeah,
Dude,
Seagal has put some beef on.
It is no longer like prime Seagal.
No.
He makes Val Kilmer pick. Like,
yes.
That's child's play to old Steven Seagal.
Man, Seagal had some great, awful movies.
Hard to Kill.
Dude,
I used to
Above
love
the Law.
Above
the Law.
Yeah.
Which is
so
the one.
great.
Hard to Kill is when he had came out of the coma and pulled himself out of the hospital with a broomstick, and then got out of bed and then ended up fighting people in the street out of a coma.
Yeah. Oh man, he was phenomenal. Under Siege is legit, very good movie.
Yeah.
Marked for Death. Out for Justice is my favorite. That's
Out for Justice.
That's when that guy in Brooklyn that he used to be buddies with as a kid.
That's right.
He's running all over Brooklyn. Remember, he gets a dog and he starts driving around with his little puppy. And
I used to love Seagal movies.
They're so great. What was his name in Out for Justice?
There's always
it's like Gino or something like that.
Of course.
Yeah, Gino Felino. That's literally his name. Detective Gino Felino. With a tight pony. And
Gino
just
Felino.
Imagine going through that
Justice.
script.
Yeah.
You want me to be Gino Felino with a pony?
And he signed off on it.
Of course he did, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven
Richie
Seagal.
Madonna was the bad guy.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Richie.
His buddy Richie.
Yeah, his ex-wife, Vicky Felino. Yeah, it was great. Gino Felino.
Gino Felino.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, I'll put a list together. Top 5 ponies in either Hollywood history. I guess I could include sports. Like, there have been some great athletes.
I know one. that is
in
mandatory.
Sports, I don't know one.
Well,
there's been
the
some.
soccer players have it.
There's been soccer players.
But
yeah, for sure.
There is one that is mandatory, and it's Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, definitely.
That revived his career. That Pulp Fiction movie,
brought him right back into an A-list,
exactly,
superstar.
And he did Face Off and did all these other, but Travolta's pony in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, tight and phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly.
Face Off is the premise of the movie. Face Off.
Yeah, I know.
Is
oh my god,
insane.
Well,
insane, but it worked, and Nick Cage was a part of that.
Exactly.
The premise of the draft lottery last night for non-Leaf fans probably also described the same way. Just crazy. The number 12 lottery ball. Joe from the Bridge is going to get that tattooed probably on his face now,
probably, yeah.
After last night. And we saw Matt Sundin and his reaction immediately. Matt was obviously very happy. I'm curious how the new GM of the Maple Leafs was reacting to the news. Let's bring him in here. There's John Chayka, the new GM of the Leafs. How you doing, John?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing very well. Take us through your viewing experience of the lottery last night.
Yeah, I was standing beside Matt, and he kept telling me how he's not going to win. It's not going to happen. And I kept trying to keep him optimistic. And he's a lucky Swede, so we got it done.
So, John, you have a plan heading into the lottery draft last night, and then you win it. Does that potentially change your plan, or does that just give you more options?
The nice part is we just started. So, we have a plan kind of how we're thinking about building out the organization. We didn't have a plan in the draft yet. And so we knew that there was optionality of what would happen. And obviously there was a wide range, from winning, which we ultimately did, to losing the pick even. And we were kind of thinking about and planning for all of those circumstances. So obviously the best outcome possible happened. And it's luck's, a funny thing, and you need it to have success long term, and that's a big one.
Does this speed up the process of getting familiar with scouts and everybody's books on these prospects? I know there's a bunch of players that are at the top of the class this year, John, but as far as you're concerned, you must want to get as much info as you want on the top guys that are going to be available.
Yeah, you know what? We had a few meetings already scheduled for today, so it ended up lining up well. But honestly, I mean, these guys, they're out, every day of the year, and for these players now, they've seen them over multiple years. So it's always about getting a good book on the players, and I got a lot of confidence in the group we have here. It's a veteran group. I spent some time with them today. Feel really comfortable with where they have things, and again, it's a big decision, and we got to be thorough and we got to be diligent. But I have no reservations that this group's not prepared to make the right decision.
Always curious in terms of the role the GM plays in the actual draft picks. In other words, I can't imagine you're watching, hundreds and hundreds of prospects, and once you get to the 5th and 6th and 7th round, I'm sure you have to rely on your scouts to tell you this is the guy we should go for, or this is the guy that fits whatever we're looking for. How does that apply to the first overall pick? Your specific role in knowing the 4 or 5 guys that are on the short list? Is it basically, Are you going to work even more on this pick because you can narrow it down to 2 or 3 guys?
It's a great question. I would just say, I think every manager is different in how they approach the draft. Certainly some guys, that's how they were brought up, and that's what they love to do, and they're super involved and super engaged, and that's great. I think for my seat, I'm always a big process guy. It's a really hard thing to do. And it's one of the most challenging problems I've ever come across in life. And I just find that their experience, their intuition, what they've gone through, how they've learned, the mistakes they've made, the adjustments they've made over decades are super important. And so, obviously, the first overall pick's an organizational pick. And, it's an important one to get right, and we'll dig in, and I'll be a part of that process. But I would say, honestly, my part is a part of it. At the end of the day, though, it will be on my record, and I own that. And but at the same time, that's why you have to, have a good staff and empower them to do a good job.
John, you're data-driven. Have you noticed scouting and the way that scouting has been processed changed over the years? And I'll give you an example is maybe watching prospects through video instead of actually being in the building to watch them.
Yeah, sure. I think as just any business evolves, new technologies come out and you evolve your process. I think that one of the challenges of scouting is, and especially in hockey specifically, just have this massive player pool across, different continents. And so, if you're one person trying to get a good feel for the entire draft, it's almost impossible to get a good sample size. You can do it, you can see everybody, but I think it's a bit of a supplement. And how can you use data, use video, use it, in-person experiences, just get the fullest picture possible. And like I said, even after you've done all of that, it's a very challenging decision to make, and you're trying to blend all these things in a really artistic way, as opposed to just being pure science. But I think anyone that's gone through it and done it has got the humility to understand that viewings are helpful, and certainly being live and feeling it and seeing stuff away from the puck brings a lot to the table. But if you're also just trying to make sure that you're not missing anything and seeing players in different segments of the season or against different competition, supplementing some of those viewings can be really valuable.
So data has been brought up twice in this interview already, and you're associated with that word.
Yeah.
We have a new segment on our show that we're heavily involved with it. We talk about it too. Like, what does that mean for people listening, that you're described as a data guy, analytics? Like, as far as your view on a hockey team and your association with this, how does it all come together, and how do you kind of view things?
Yeah, I mean, my approach and my view is, as you guys know as well as I do, or better, like, it's just really hard to win in the National Hockey League. There's a ton of really smart people doing great work, lots of experience. They got a lot of knowledge. And so you're always trying to find an edge, an advantage, something different, not trying to play the exact same game as everybody else and just hope the ping pong balls hit every year for you. Like, what can you do that's different that kind of gives you a right to win? And, look, with my background and some of the experiences I've had, I feel like I've got a lot of experience in the data side. And, having said that, I think no matter what your background experience is, you have to be, cognizant of not over-indexing to something or under-indexing in another way. So for me, it's just, I really believe in, the power of the room. Like I've said before, I think, again, these are really hard decisions. So if you get the best people around the table, put all the information on the table in terms of quantitative or qualitative evaluations, your book on the players, anything you've got on them in terms of intangibles. And just, it's hard, you're trying to weight all these things in different ways, and it's always different, depending on the player and the situation and the part of the draft that you're in, it'll evolve, and it's never the same weighting. But ultimately, you have to be right when you make your pick. And when you do that, you want to have a lot of conviction that you've turned over every stone, you've looked at it from every different angle, and then you got to make a judgment call.
With John Chayka, GM of the Maple Leafs. So, intangibles, physicality, intimidation, they all play a role in the sport. You, again, I think maybe fairly or unfairly, you've been labeled as just the data guy, just it's all a science, and you're going to put the numbers together. Do you want to address that and how important you think it is in terms of building the Leafs in the future to make sure there is a physical element to their game? They can fight if they have to fight, like all the different things that also come with the sport. Where do you stand on that, and how would you address Leaf fans that are wondering, your stance on that part of the game?
Yeah, I'd just say, much like any fan, turn on playoff hockey, and it doesn't take you long to figure it out. I mean, it's a battle out there. You got to be ready physically and mentally to go out and compete at that level. Obviously, that's a reason why Matt Sundin's a big part of what we're doing. He's a guy that's been in those situations and knows what it takes. He'll be a big part of our decision-making process. And, we're going to surround ourselves with lots of individuals like Matt's, or have similar or different backgrounds that can bring those elements to the table and understanding of what it means. But, I would just say, if you're going to win, you got to be good across the board. And certainly at this time of year, you need those elements that you raised, but you also need to be, the pace of these games is also noticeable. and not just the pace of skating, but decision making and reads and making plays under pressure and escaping pressure and making a play. So I think our job is to not miss those elements that you suggested, because those are clearly part of the recipe. But also have a well-rounded team that no matter the opponent, you have a diversified attack that can match up well against anybody.
John, you just mentioned the other general managers around the league, that everyone does good work and everyone's trying to win. There's been a lot of speculation about your specific relationships with these people. Like, in your estimation, do you want to speak to that? Like, what do you think your relationship is? And I know there's some different people moving around. The deck chairs are different. How do you think your relationship is, from your view, with other GMs around the league?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I think from my side, I would say, the folks that I know, which is a large majority, I think I have pretty good relationships with. And I would just point to my history of making transactions. And we made quite a few in Arizona as we were trying to kind of move that team around and get into a competitive position. I think the main theme is that whenever you're trying to, make a deal or create a transaction, that, there's a two sides to the equation, and you're trying to understand what they're trying to accomplish, and you're trying to accomplish something for your club as well. So by no means am I looking to make friends or anything like that. I'm trying to do the best thing in the interest of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's my loyalties, and that's where that lies. And for Edward Rogers and Keith Pelley and the whole staff, that's my focus. But at the same time, I think in order to get transactions done consistently, you got to be honest and forthright and direct in your dealings. And like I said, historically, I've been able to do that.
Well, and Keith Pelley the other day obviously was not concerned, and was not concerned about your history and your time in Arizona, the way you left Arizona, and he said you impressed him with your vision. Can you shed any light on that? Not necessarily your full blueprint of the next 3 to 5 years for the Leafs, but what do you think you did in particular to tip the scales and have Keith Pelley in the end choose you as the GM?
Yeah, again, that's a good question for Keith. But from my perspective, I think, obviously, resources aren't a problem in Toronto. Again, the directive from Edward Rogers to me is to, do whatever it takes to win a Stanley Cup. I take that seriously. I think, as we think about how we can, again, gain a competitive advantage, it's not just resources, it's being resourceful. And I think, coming from a place like Arizona, it teaches you a lot about that. And so, how can you be really disciplined in your decision making, how you can be really disciplined in how you spend money in a cap system. Even though you can spend in the cap, it still matters how you spend those dollars. And so I think combining, resourcefulness with the resources could be a blueprint of, how we continue to evolve the organization. And again, I would just say, I think there's been a lot of good things done here over a decade too. And so we're certainly not looking to throw the baby out with the bathwater in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of good people that have done a lot of good work over a long period of time. And, Matt's and I are coming in with a different slant and, maybe a fresh perspective. And, we're going to try to iterate on things. But, I think ultimately Keith was looking for someone that could come in and bridge some between some departments and try to, again, take what's here and bring it to another level.
Your opening statement the other day in your press conference, you said, you were younger and a lot different in Arizona. This is a different beast here in Toronto. I mean, how different are you, and how different is your approach going to be? You've talked about it with more resources, but is it more about relationships or more about just you maturing, and second time around, you're looking for a different approach?
Yeah, look, I think it's a little bit all of the above. I was 26. I was dating. Now I'm 36. I'm married. I've got 3 kids. Life changes, and so I'm always looking to get better and improve and do different things. Obviously, done some things now on the business side in different formats, and look to bring some big best practices from there as well. But I'd say spend a lot of time in global sports, global football, baseball. NBA even, the common theme is always the human element. There's just a human connectivity and a pulse and a heartbeat to these environments. And, again, I think you can have the most talented teams in the world. I don't think that's going to get the job done. And so while talent is a necessary part of the equation, I don't think it's a sufficient part. And, anything we can do here with the Leafs to continue to build up culture and again, that's why I love having Matt Sundin as a partner in this, and someone who knows the market, has lived it, has felt the weight of it, but has also embraced what it is and what it means. I don't have that exact perspective, of course, and so having the best front office matters.
So as far as the culture that's in place, like how are you going to dig down and drill down on the culture that's already here? Like, are you just going to
Yeah.
have to ask around, get to know guys? Like, have you spoken to Austin Matthews, William Nylander about what's up here and what's been happening? Or how are you going to find all these things out?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it is just having conversations. And so the last 2 days, we've been kind of in the boardroom here, buckled down, and trying to meet with everyone from the chef to the equipment staff to the coaches. We're going to go through and talk to them and get their perspective. I'm just a big believer. Again, we're on the outside. We don't know what we don't know. And so having those conversations and digging deep and trying to, have real honest conversations about where we're at, and there's been great perspective already. People that are in the room every day that just have a pulse on what's going on. And the question isn't what's gone on in the past. The question is, where do we go from here? How do we get better? How do we elevate things? Obviously, it was a disappointing season for everyone. And but at the same time, I think there's a lot of resolve in the group. There hasn't been, that missed playoff experience in a long time. And our hope is that, this group can benefit from that, actually, use some of that adversity in a positive way and bounce back.
Well, with that in mind, there was a report in The Athletic this week that Austin Matthews is uncertain if he's even going to return next year. Is that your understanding of where Matthews is at right now, and how would you approach that report?
That's not my understanding. I think, Austin's invested a lot of his career, his entire, and what the next decade of his career looks like. I think it's important that he feels a connectivity, an alignment. He has a similar vision and passion that we do. And so, we'll have those conversations and get together and share notes. And honestly, I want to be a good listener. He's the captain. It's his room. He's been through the ups and downs of this market. Obviously Matt's is a unique perspective to share as well. And I'm sure there'll be some good back and forth in that regard. But I totally understand the perspective of, you only have so many years as a player and it goes by quick, as you guys know. And, you want to make sure that you feel fully aligned and engaged in what's going on. And I have no problem, having those conversations, sharing our thoughts, learning, seeing if there's a, shared common vision and charting a path forward.
John, Keith Pelly, in a roundabout way, a few different times, thinks that with some of the cornerstone pieces, as he labeled them, with some additions and possibly being healthy, that this team can turn it around and get back into contention of some sort, I guess, for the Stanley Cup next year. Do you share in that belief? Was that a big part of the interview process, what your thoughts were on this team and how quickly they could turn around, if that's even possible? Some think it's not.
Yeah, I would just share my perspective, which is, we spent some time on, this roster this season, walking through the players. I'd say it's a very small portion of the interview process. The much larger part of the process was organizational building, a vision for what world-class organization looks like, how we can be the best in class across, all these different departments and integrate them in a really effective way to create a competitive advantage for the long term for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So as we're doing that and evaluating that right now and trying to find, the best ways to put this thing on solid foundation, not just for my tenure, but hopefully, into the future. We also believe very strongly that, we owe it to the players, first and foremost, the fans, ownership, to, put the best team on the ice next year. And, I think you got to do that in a way that's thoughtful and constructive. And, this isn't something where we're building a team for one season. But at the same time, I do think we need to, continue to push this team ahead, generate some momentum and get some positivity back.
So as far as next year, do you think that this team could turn around and be competitive and compete for a Stanley Cup with some additions, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think, again, as I sit here today in May, the season played out and, the result as well as I do. And so obviously the answer as we sit here today is that they're not the contending club that we'd like to be. We got a full off season. We're going to go hard. We're going to give it everything we got. I'm very committed to that. I think we got some world-class players, and those players deserve our best efforts to put the best team on the ice. Under the constraints and the realities of trying to do that, while other 31 teams are trying to do the same. But it won't be from a lack of effort on our side. And, as we get into training camp, I'm happy to address that question with more specificity. But, I can say anything in May, as you know. It's more about what it looks like as we enter the season.
Yep, absolutely. Well, John, you're the first guest to come on since O debuted his new ponytail, so we appreciate you keeping a straight face throughout the whole thing.
Staring into the screen at that.
It was tough.
Next time, I'm sure he'll be back to a tight fade. We appreciate you taking time for us. We'll do it again down the road. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
John Chayka, you too. The new GM of the Maple Leafs. All right, well, listen, we'll see it. You can tell, like you kind of said, there's buzz around that building. I'm sure getting that first pick overall last night. Sure. Like that's going to change the whole complexion of the vibe, but there's still a lot of work to be done, like you said. All right, more on this still to come. Craig Button coming up. Jays got swept today. Habs, Sabres tonight. Jerry's percentages. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Craig Button coming up. Jerry's percentages coming up. And I've got a new list. The best ponytails of all time. Right?
Yes.
And this is specific to men, clearly.
Okay, but you said the guy from the draft lottery is already on.
He's the inspiration for the list.
The inspiration.
Yeah, like he's
excluded.
He's on the Rushmore of ponies.
Exactly.
But where does this one?
That one's gonna possibly listen. Tony Little is coming up.
Oh my God,
Little.
Tony Little!
Remember him on an elliptical with a tight pony and a hat?
Somebody sent a tweet to me that said, "I can't take this seriously." Watching Gino Foligno ask the GM. What a name,
Detective Gino Foligno.
It is tough. Like,
Detective Gino Foligno.
Joe from the Bridge, get a Gino Foligno clip coming into the next segment.
Yes, please do. We will. Next hour, Gino Foligno coming up. Overdrive continues up on YouTube Live.
This is Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All aboard! Jump back on the train, folks. 5 o'clock hour. Brian Hayes, Jamie McLennan, Jeff O'Neill. We are sprinting to 6 o'clock. We've got a big hour. Who do we got this hour, Hazy P?
We got Craig Button coming up.
Craig Button is going to break. Craig Button is going to break down all the potential draft picks, all the different scenarios, what's gone on in Toronto the last week. Massive hour. And I need to clarify something right off the bat.
Yes.
We're going to do a top 5 pony Hazy B listing.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to clarify something. I got a couple notes saying it seems like O-Dog can't stand John Chayka. I view people in management, even if it's in the city that I live in and that I grew up in, just like Ray Ferraro views hockey games. He always says, I don't care who wins. I don't care who runs the team. Everybody's got a job to do. I don't know John Chayka. Would I have hired him? Definitely not. And so would a bunch of other people are in the same boat as me. But you know what? He got the job. And as far as I'm concerned, I discussed it a couple days ago, Brian. The phase of bitching and complaining and saying, what are we doing, and firing crazy questions at these people are over with. And now he's the GM, and they get a shot. So let's see what you got. Nobody has, there's no sense of just saying or saying you like or dislike. It's like he's the GM of the team now. And you can tell by listening to him talk, which a lot of people, they can talk, man. Like these guys he probably had to do some talking to get this job, to all the interview process. But I don't care who it is. I don't like or dislike anybody in management. A bunch of people are my friends. Of course, I like them. Matt Sundin's a friend of mine. But I don't care who's the GM. They got a job to do, and this guy might be a rock star in management. Let's see what he's got. Because the bitching and complaining phase is officially over.
Well, and furthermore, if and when it works out, then we'll be the first ones to acknowledge that and pump his tires and Matt's tires and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. I mean, That's generally the way it works, is the team plays and we react.
Right.
It applies to the Leafs,
That's
the
right.
Raptors,
And if it doesn't work, Brian,
Jays.
the first thing that's going to come out of our mouth is Kyle Dubas was an analytics guy as well. He won one playoff round. So why was it the need to go down that road again? But you know what? They did it. So we're going to watch and see, and let's see what the hell they can do.
And listen, they went the other way in a way with Trey Living, and he won one playoff round. Right. So that's the thing. You've had a lot of different GMs, a lot of different management types.
Whatever your style is, Brian, whatever your approach is, someone try to get it done.
Yeah.
That's all anybody gives.
That's right. Well, and listen, he acknowledged that. He said, listen, they've got to find different ways of attack. You've got to be able to play against all the variety of styles and teams in the league. But you also have to establish an identity.
Yep.
And they have to do that because as of right now, the Leafs don't really have one. They have the first overall pick, which is amazing, but doesn't completely change the complexion of your team.
He's 2 days on the job. I said to you off air, I want to afford him time to get acclimated, get sorted out. Now, he's on the clock just because of everything. As every manager has said to me, when Brad Treliving took over the job, you're drinking from a fire hose immediately because you got decisions. He had a decision. He had to get Matthews' contract done. Same situation here. John Chayka's taken over. Austin Matthews is in the forefront, whether we like it or not. Like you have to get acclimated right away. Seems like a smart guy. And here's the other thing. You're a lot smarter at 26 than you are at 16, 36 than you are at 26. This is a second kick at the can. That's why I asked him the question, like, what's different between Arizona and Toronto, other than the obvious, the size of the markets and his resources? It's him. He's different. You hope that he learned through his previous experience. You talk to coaches in the NHL and say, well, my first kick of the can, I was a lot better the second time because I knew what to expect. So that's what I'm hoping out of this experience for him, is that he learned a lot, and you got to be humble, and you come into us and work hard and see what you can put forth.
And ultimately, whoever the GM was, you can't control everything. You're not going to control everything.
Right.
You can't control what you're doing with the first pick. You can't control who you're trying to sign. You can't control who your coach is going to be.
Right.
But you can't control how your players are going to feel or what your players want or where your players ultimately decide whether or not they want to stay, leave. And that means the best player all the way down to the worst player on the roster.
Right.
There are a lot of things that are out of the hands of every single GM. But anyway, it was good to catch up with him. And hopefully, I'm sure he will. He's going to come on again in the future, and the Leafs have a big offseason. But last night went a long way in launching them into possibly a very positive landscape. Winning the draft lottery last night. That was significant.
Yep.
And Craig Button will join us here in a few moments, and we'll get Craig's take on. He's a McKenna guy. Not that he's not a fan of other players in the draft, but he has been a pretty staunch supporter of Gavin McKenna being the best player in the draft. So we'll get him to detail all that. We got some picks to make, too, this hour, right? The Truist is going back to Quail Hollow, so we've got that. McElroy back in the field. Scotty not playing. But we'll get to that. We got the PGA Championship next week. I love it. So all that coming up later in the hour. And Jerry's percentages as well in 25 minutes.
It seems to be like I know it's every weekend, but it just seems like a lot of elevated events bunched up together, which I bet you, as spoiled as these guys are, Hayes, they hate it.
Well, because
they're like worn out. It's like, what?
It's back to back going into the PGA.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you got to play them, and these guys, they've all got different schedules in terms of how they want to prepare for a major. Mm-hmm. And you look at it this year, the RBC Canadian Open, it's being shifted again because Nicholas and the Memorial wanted to move in a different direction. But it's right before the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is on the East Coast. They're playing at Shinnecock, which is in New York.
Yeah.
And as a result, they've got an awesome field.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton of guys that want to play the week before the U.S. Open.
Yes, leading up to it.
And it's at TPC Toronto. It's going to be an awesome, awesome tournament this year.
It will be.
So we start moving in that direction. We got the World Cup right around the corner.
Yes.
Right? FIFA World Cup right around the corner. We've got the RBC Canadian Open right around the corner. Now we've got the draft right around the corner.
Yes.
The NHL draft, and the Maple Leafs are going to pick first. To get into it all, here he is, the director of scouting here at TSN, our good friend Craig Button. How you doing, Craig?
51 days. We got content for 51 days. That's all I know.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. Let's get right after it. You're walking up there to the podium representing the Maple Leafs. Who are you taking with that first pick?
Well, if it's today, I'm taking McKenna. But I think there was a couple of big wins for the Toronto Maple Leafs with that lottery ball coming up with the Leafs logo on it. Number one, they didn't lose the pick, which was a fear of fans in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Number two, it changed the narrative from what happened on Monday to a delirious fan base on Tuesday, which is really positive. And number three, picking first overall, having way more options than you had going into the draft lottery. Those are three big wins for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, you think about a franchise that doesn't have the ability, that doesn't have a prospect cupboard that's deep, doesn't have draft picks. This was something that was a real positive for the Maple Leafs.
Craig, some people's philosophy, I'd like to hear your take on it, is you have a piece now, a young piece, and there's been talk about Austin Matthews and what he plans to do in the future. Would any part of you want to say, let's just try to move on and possibly go after San Jose's number 2 pick and then move off of other pieces and then start building where in a couple years you have a bunch of different younger pieces and you're moving in a different direction? Or is it just, let's see where Gavin McKenna fits in with Austin Matthews and William Nylander and hope this thing flies?
I think, Jeff, you just outlined the options now that the Toronto Maple Leafs can consider. John Chayka, when he's asked about will you trade the first pick, he says, yeah, we're open. Like, that's what every manager says, right? Because that's what every manager should say. And I think given where the Leafs find themselves, and they're not one player away, but you now have options you didn't have. And certainly, Austin's a superstar in the league. William Nylander's a superstar in the league. And you look at a team that is trying to find a way to get back to a stage of contending. And every team should be like that. But the options that are available to them now, not just with the first pick, not just with considering what could happen with Austin Matthews and William Nylander, but those are things that now, if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs management group, you gotta put everything on the table for what's going to move us closer to being a contending team. Now, I'm not talking next year. If you think it's all about next year, well, I think that's a really difficult task to ask. But if you want to really move into contending status, I think, Jeff, you have all these opportunities.
Well, when I asked you a moment ago, who you would take, you said if the draft were today, it would be McKenna. Is that suggesting in the next 51 days that could change for you? If it's not McKenna, who else would you take with the first pick if the Leafs keep it?
I would consider a defenseman. I would. And I would consider Carls or, for me, it's Carls or Chase Reed. The Toronto Maple Leafs, to me, the last time they had an impact defenseman, they had Brian McCabe for a short period of time, who was really impact. But Thomas Caberlet was their last real driver from the back end. They don't have any. They don't have that guy. They're not easy to find. So that would be a conversation I'd be having internally. How do we find these guys? Like teams, I know Vancouver traded Quinn Hughes, but how do you find these guys? So I'm not saying I would consider a defenseman, and I would have that conversation. I would delve deep into it. Make me say no.
Mm-hmm. So, Craig, how deep is this draft? And what I mean by that is, if we do this all the time. We'll go back on a draft class and look and say, hey, Morgan Riley, was fifth. And if you had to redraft it, he might end up first in that particular draft. I think it was the Galchenyuk and all of that. But when you look at this particular draft class, is there 6, 7, 8 impactful players you feel like in that top 10, or am I being a little rich with that comment?
I think you're being rich. I mean, if you go back and look at drafts, and I'm using impactful in a significant way. Correct. Like, there's players that can, contribute and be important players, but the impact players are not deep in any draft. And I think when you look back at any draft, Jamie, like the way I look at the draft, and we hear this all the time, is this a good draft? Is it a bad draft? here's what the data tells you. And Jeff, I know that you're a data-centric program now, so I'm trying to see you have data here. You know,
much appreciated. Much appreciated.
There's approximately 45 players in every draft, approximately. Sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower, that play 350 games or more in the NHL with varying degrees of success. And that's the numbers. So you know those numbers going in. There's players that don't make it from the first round, the second round. There's players that have impact coming from later parts of the draft. When a team drafts players that make it, it's a good draft. When a team drafts players that don't make it, it's a bad draft. And it has nothing to do with the players. It has to do with the selections made.
With Craig Button. So I heard you last night. I saw you on Jay. You and Frankie were on there talking about McKenna and the impact he could have next season. Let's presume they take McKenna. Let's presume Matthews is back. Link those two for me. Do you see McKenna being able to play with Matthews? Can he have an impact on his season next year?
Can he play, period,
Can he play next year? Exactly. Where do you stand on all those projections as of today?
That's a fair question. You know, can he play? I think the situation for Gavin improved immensely when you start to think about the opportunity to play in Toronto with Austin Matthews. Let's say they don't take him. To play in San Jose with Macklin Celebrini.
Ooh, you know, no kidding.
Because you're talking about premier players. And Jeff, you lived it. You were drafted as a center and they put you on the wing. Why did they put you on the wing? Not because you weren't talented or you didn't have potential. They wanted to protect you a little bit. They wanted to ease you in somewhat. And so Gavin's already a winger, and now he can start on the wing, and now Austin Matthews can carry the burden. The other thing about Gavin McKenna is he's a playmaker. And what did Austin Matthews lose? He lost the playmaker. Why did Austin Matthews dip in goal scoring? He didn't have the playmaker. To me, Gavin can think the game. He's got great creativity. He's got playmaking ability. And now to line up next to Matthews, that's something that I think could work.
So, Craig, you don't see a scenario where there's an Owen Power type of situation where Gavin McKenna could possibly want to go back to Penn State and go back to college, or do you think that he would be interested in going right to the NHL if that's possible?
Yeah, just like if we, you know, Owen, it was a little different scenario with the pandemic with Owen. So if I think under normal circumstances, Owen would have turned pro. I really do. So, and I think that Gavin, like given the scenarios that he could be presented with, like, and I'm not here to knock a team, but let's say he fell to 3. If I'm advising Gavin McKenna, go back to Penn State because I don't think Vancouver has the ability to support him and give him what he needs to and you've seen him, Jeff and Jamie and Brian, like, you know, the maturity, the physical things. And, you know, you need a little bit of help when you come into the NHL. He's not a Celebrini. He's not a Schaefer. He's not a Bedard. He isn't that guy. So to me, it depends where you're going. But I think if you're lining up on the left side of Austin Matthews or Macklin Celebrini, you're coming to the NHL.
Craig, what would your viewpoint be on being a general manager, which you were, and one of the players, or there's different players around the league that I think are having kind of a wait-and-see approach with what their team is doing as far as roster construction, how competitive they think they're going to be. And I guess the approach is going to be, if I don't like it, maybe I don't want to be back. If you were on the management side, how would you handle that type of situation? Because I know if it was me, I'd be like, we have to move on from you because there's a chance we're going to make some changes and you still don't like them and then you're still going to want out. So let's just get this straight here. What are your thoughts?
I'm with you, Jeff. And I think Jim Rutherford showed that with Quinn Hughes. He said, hey, listen, we love you. You're our captain. We want to keep you. Oh, you don't want to stay? We understand. We're moving on. I don't think it serves player or team to go through that dance. It feels like you're not dancing in coordination to the music that each party might want to be dancing to and stepping to is different at that point in time. And now you end up at the end of it going, oh, wait a sec here. We don't have anything. And we've gone through all this exercise of trying to appease. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but you got to run your team with the idea that what's best for the team. And when I was a manager, Jeff, players, I mean, there's all kinds of trade talk, and maybe it's a little bit more enhanced now. I told the players, simple. If I can improve the team, I'll trade anybody. But I'm not looking to trade anybody. But you always got to be having your mind open. But to me, you have to move on. Jim Rutherford showed that. And really, quite frankly, you better not dither. Because if you dither, you're going to be sitting with the music stopped and no chair to sit in.
With Craig Button. So we've got Habs Sabres tonight starting. It should be a great series. If there are a lot of Montreal fans watching and listening to the show, a lot of Sabre fans watching and listening. Which way do you lean when it comes to the outcome of this series, Craig?
Well, I got to work with the data. How many Sabres fans are listening? Because, if the more Sabres fans are listening, I might lean Sabres. If more Canadians fans.
You can be swayed. That's the smart man.
Well, you're just trying to appease the numbers. What I would say to you is this. I thought that Tampa Bay's big problem against Montreal was their defense couldn't contribute to the offense. They just couldn't. The Tampa Bay Lightning had a lot of offensive zone play. They had a lot, but the offensive play from the blue line wasn't there. The Buffalo Sabres have that. I think that becomes the biggest challenge for Montreal. They got some big players that can hem you in, and now the blue liners, Byram and Dahlin specifically, Owen Power to a little lesser extent, can contribute to that offense. I don't think Tampa Bay had that. Conversely, they're also a team that takes risk. And I think that Montreal can exploit that. They're quick, they're fast, and if you can counteract some of their activity to get into the offensive rush and be a little bit risk worthy, and you want to take that away from them, you get some odd man chances and you back them off. That's what I'm watching for in this series. Dobish was great against Tampa Bay Lightning. Alex Lyon got in the net and played really well. That's where I look at it. We know that the top line for Montreal has to find a way to get on the scoreboard. That goes without saying. But I think how they handle the aggressiveness of the Buffalo blue line in the offense, it can work to Buffalo's advantage or it can work to Montreal's advantage. That, to me, is the chess match.
Yeah, it's going to be a great series starting tonight. 51 days from the NHL draft. We cannot wait for it. There'll be more mock drafts and analysis. Craig, you're going to be all over it. Great stuff as always. Thank you for doing this. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, quick question for Jeff.
Yes.
What's with the gray Maple Leafs alumni blazer? Is that a new one? Is that a new suit?
He's got a ponytail.
Brian, explain to Mr. Button the outfit.
All right, so you were watching the lottery last night. The lottery ball security guard had a really tight ponytail, and we were very inspired by that. So O said, I'm going to grow out the ponytail. I don't really know why the alumni jacket, other than the fact that the Leafs won the lottery last night, and he decided, I guess the blue one, maybe it's being tailored because everything else this guy owns gets tailored. Yeah. So he's bringing out the road white, the road white alumni jacket with a tight pony. That's the inspiration, Craig.
Okay, I like the gray alumni jacket. I only saw the blue ones, but I like the gray. It's sharp with the blue tie.
That's the one
Jeff.
he made.
It's custom made.
He made it himself.
As far as I know, he's the only Leaf alumni with that jacket.
There's
and I don't care.
Else. Nobody else.
And I don't care.
Nobody else.
It wasn't given to him by the Leafs alumni.
No.
He went out and made it.
Yeah. And I've asked other Leaf alumni, and they said, you're insane if you think I'd ever do that. Only Jeff O'Neill would do that.
I've known Jeff a long time, and there's one thing you can take to the bank. He's his own person, and we love him for that.
Yes, very authentic.
Yeah.
Very authentic. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig. There's Craig Button joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Red Tag Days are here. Check out the Toyota Crown Signia, effortlessly tranquil, beautifully designed, and remarkably distinctive. Visit Maple Toyota near Canada's Wonderland in the Maple Auto Mall. All right, I'm going to have a tough time getting this list down to 5.
The pony list? I mean, Steven Seagal has to be on it.
Seagal's
you got
a
him
lot.
right. Are you ripping him off right now?
No. We'll come back. We got Jerry coming up. I've got the list. We've got our picks. Too, right, for Quail Hollow.
I'm still sitting there thinking, like, John Chayka's first appearance on the show.
Yeah. This guy in an alumni jacket and a tight
guys,
pony.
And
you
Jeffrey
wanna,
King
most,
there.
Most people would say, you know what, the GM of the Leafs, I gotta change out of this.
You
got to stay true to yourself.
I understand that. It's just he doesn't know us that well. So he's looking into the screen.
Jamie, he knows who we are. We know who he is.
I understand that. Yes, we're friends with his sister. I understand that. But the point being is that he comes on the show and he's staring through the screen, and you've got your alumni coat on and a ponytail, and there's no backstory. It's like, hey, John, how you doing? We just start talking. Right into the interview.
You got to battle through adversity, man. Something kind of,
yes.
Give up one in the first 10 minutes. You got to battle through.
I loved it. I love it.
That's correct. All right. Jerry's coming up. Best bets still to come. We got golf picks, and we've got our top 5 pony. I'm having a very difficult time. I've got to narrow this down to 5.
Why? You have too many?
Yeah, I got a lot.
Come on, dude. I couldn't think of 3 people with great
I've got
ponies.
Athletes. I've got a chef on here.
A chef?
Yeah, there's a chef
Hurry
on
up,
here.
go to commercial. I want the list of the ponies.
There's a lot of them. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
You're going to want to hear this.
Jerry's percentages.
I don't love being commissioner as much as I used to. I actually love it even more.
That's the voice of a Hall of Famer.
Are you kidding? Have you been out drinking?
You're all pigeons. Filthy, filthy pigeons.
It's Jerry. Gerry.
All right, Jerry's percentages. We haven't played Jerry's in a while.
No.
Looking forward to it. And obviously after the draft lottery last night and everything, all the positive momentum of the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? The playoffs have been great, and the salary cap's going up $8.5 million next year.
It's a really good
Everything's
player.
going well for the league right now.
Yeah.
So Jerry's in a very, very good place. So we thought perfect time to catch up with him. You guys ready to hear from Jerry?
Let's do it.
Fire it up.
First and foremost, I want to acknowledge my esteemed lottery colleague, Tight Pony JP. Tight Pony and Jerry jumped in a Lincoln Navigator after the lottery and hit the town. And let's just say the sparks were flying.
Jerry and Tight Pony.
JP.
Imagine that. The sparks were flying.
Because you know that they both got in the Navigator and they both looked down at each other's wheels, and they had black on black Sketcher wheels.
Yes.
Yes.
And said, let's dominate.
Let's
Flores.
dominate NYC.
I love it. Yeah, right into Manhattan last night.
Let's fire up the first one. Go ahead, Joe from the bridge.
Gavin McKenna will be nominated for Rookie of the Year next season.
Ooh, Jerry's coming in
This
hot.
is a Jerry / possibly Joe from the bridge special. I got to tell you.
I'm telling you, Joe is going to get the number 12 lottery ball tattooed somewhere on his body.
Yeah, his butt, his ass.
Okay, maybe. All right, but
I'm not getting carried away with this. I'm going to say
so
50.
top 3. You don't see. Okay, go ahead. Top 3 McKenna Rookie of the Year.
Top 3? Rook? What do you mean top? Is this the
nominated?
Nominated, not winning.
Nominated is
nominated.
I'm going to say 15%. So many things have to happen. There's more mature kids that step into the league, older guys, rookies. I don't think that this is a Leaf. This is crazy Leaf stuff.
He's good, but he's probably going first overall. I mean, that's generally the favorite to win the thing.
I get it. I'm gonna try to keep the expectations down. I'm gonna say 15%. I know you're going to say 89.
No, I'm about 22%. I was going to say 25, but yeah, I'm low on this. But if he plays in the league, he'll get a look at it. It's just, I guess my question would be, ask me this when the team is formed. If he's playing with Austin Matthews, or if Matthews has moved on and he's playing with a younger team.
Right. Or if the Leafs don't draft him and he goes somewhere else.
That's fair, too.
But if he goes to San Jose and pairs up with Celebrini, now Will Smith, though, probably would sit there and say that's actually my role.
So I don't know. There's no guarantee he plays in the league next year.
That's why it's got to be low.
That's why I was 22%.
Yep, I think that's reasonable. I mean, I think first overall probably walks right in. But if you drop to 3 or 4, then the door is open to maybe go back to school.
And Craig kind of left that he's like, today.
Yes.
Which was weird. Usually he would be like, slam dunk.
Well, maybe the World Championships will change the mind of some scouts, right?
I think Craig's got something in the back of his mind that he didn't share with us.
Yeah. Well, he likes a couple of defensemen.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thought like that. And I don't think it would be
the Swedish guy, the guy who played in Sweden.
Well, Stenberg, yeah. And maybe Sundin is possibly leaning towards that. It's possible.
Maybe.
I'm going to say 12%.
Okay.
12%. Because, again, he's very, very young. Like, this year was a phenomenal Calder race. I mean, I know Schaefer took off, but Demidov and Seneca were really good.
Yes.
Like, really, really good.
I bet you the Habs are looking for a Demidov or Caulfield goal tonight.
Yes,
B.
I think you're definitely right. Caulfield, in particular, 5-on-5. That guy, he's going to play a ton. All right, what else you got, Jerry?
The likelihood of Austin Matthews staying in Toronto long-term went through the roof with the lottery win last night.
Okay. How much did it change his long-term playing in Toronto, the lottery win last night?
10%.
10%.
Yeah, I'm thinking in that lower range because you actually talked me out of it in the 4 o'clock hour because I thought maybe a little bit more, but you're like, this guy's going to do what he wants to do regardless of.
Well, and he's thinking 1 year at a time, and McKenna's, if they take him, is 18 years old. I mean, so Austin's 10 years into his
career. Guys, I think if any of this stuff is starting to come out from credible people like our Chris Johnston, in my mind, it kind of I just think that the player's already visually kind of mentally left, like he wants to leave. Because this stuff's not coming out by accident, right? So his buddy Mitch is gone. The team stunk last year. He's been here a long time. He's had some great memories. He's no kid anymore. Maybe he just wants to do something different, and that's fine. That's totally fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Like, it might be time for both sides, for all of them. Nylander, Matthews, Morgan Riley, like, just to say, you guys have been great soldiers. You've been good people. You've had some nice individual stat seasons, but it's probably time for us to go in a different direction. That's a scenario that I could see happening.
It could.
I don't know what that organization down the street thinks of that idea, but it's definitely something that should and could be in play.
Chayka didn't indicate that an hour ago. Right, like his indication.
Right, I tried to dig it out of him to say, like the Keith's view of this team is they better contend next year, which is completely unrealistic. Well, I wanted to hear his thoughts on it.
And he did say, listen, we all saw what happened last year.
Yeah, he's
and
realist.
They got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
but,
realist.
They're all about process. And next year, can you get incrementally better? And then the year after that, get better?
Yeah.
I would guess that that's still their plan, is just keep trying to plug away and try to get better and hope to get back on the horse next year, which I can reason with considering how awful last year was and the previous 9 was pretty good.
The other thing, too, is, guys, they can get better next year. I was thinking about this today. Who's coming out? Like,
we say that
in the
every
Atlantic.
year.
No, I'm saying, though, you're going to be chasing, like, Florida's going to be right back in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Buffalo,
my point. The Atlantic
solid.
is not going to soften.
No, I agree with
That's
you, Noodles.
my point.
But last year we said the same thing, and the Leafs and Florida completely fell off a cliff.
100%.
So maybe next year Buffalo falls off a cliff again. Like, I'm not.
Wow.
I don't know.
There's
but
five teams from the Atlantic made it this year, right? Correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah, Detroit didn't.
Yeah. So, but my point is if there's 5 teams available. Yes, you can put yourself into the mix with the Bostons, the Ottawas, all of that, but no guarantee that you can actually make the playoffs.
100%. 100%. Totally
that's my only point is that if they played in a different division, you could go, hey, let's but
Very
this
true.
is the Atlantic is murderer's row and not changing it for at least probably a year or so.
Yep. I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying every year is unpredictable in some way. I mean, the Leafs in Florida.
Nobody saw Florida and Toronto missing the playoffs this year.
By this much, too, where it was like, wow, they're out. But,
yes.
All right, Jerry, what else do you have?
Le Bleu en Rouge are going to the Stanley Cup Final.
Wow, right to a Cup Final take before Game 1 tonight for the Habs.
I'm going to go 25% on that. As good as Montreal's story's been, they got a real good squad in Buffalo, and then they're going to probably be facing the Carolina Hurricanes. So...
Not going to be easy, but
yeah.
doable.
If you're looking at it right now, Carolina is going to be playing Colorado in the Cup Final.
I think this Carolina team's got a team that can get through that conference final. They haven't done it. Yeah. They haven't done it, but I think
and
this
I
could be
actually believe I think they're the only team left that could possibly kind of stymie Colorado with the way they check and the way they play. That's just what I think right now. I think Carolina is the only team that could possibly cause problems for Colorado. It's early. It's kind of a crazy kind of statement, but that's the way I view it right now.
The Natchez Bowl, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Marty Natchez making his way back to Raleigh, North Carolina.
Some of that puck movement by Colorado last night when they get buzzing is just outrageous. Yeah. I was like, this is the modern version of like Jamie back when those like good Colorado teams, good Detroit teams, good Pitt teams, where they're out there playing chess and the rest of the league is playing checkers.
Yeah. It did look like they did look like on another planet last night.
Yeah. I remember we got spanked by the Penguinos, and my man Jimmy Carson got on the bus, and everyone was quiet, whatever. He goes, "Man, Lemieux and Yager were tossing it around tonight." Everybody was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough. Yeah,
that's tough.
I don't even know what the question is.
I don't even remember. Oh,
Canadians
the Habs going to the Cup
Stanley
final.
Cup. I am 17%. I'm low on this.
Low. Everyone's low on all these numbers. I'm going a little bit higher. I think they're going to get past Buffalo.
You do, eh?
I just feel like Dolbish has got something cooking right now, and
I'll do a side hunch on that.
Sure, side hunch.
Now, both these teams feel like they're destined. Only one can get through.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly. But I feel like there's still, like them getting past Tampa, man. I don't know if they're getting enough credit for that. There's a lot of people, myself included, that were like, Tampa's the cream of the crop, Tampa this, Tampa that, and they just beat them. Like Buffalo beat Boston. Boston, not that good. I'm sorry. They were okay this year, and to their credit, they battled and they got in. That's not some great team. Buffalo deserved to win, and they did. Montreal toppled a pretty big giant.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty impressive. They get past Tampa, and they did it.
Now, did they rest on their laurels, or did they push harder?
I think they get going
and
here.
Does, you know,
my say 35% they're in a cup final.
My worry is that the clock strikes on any goalie, too, right? If the clock strikes midnight on Dolbish, then you go to Fowler.
But it can happen with Freddie Anderson, too, right?
Or Alex Lyon.
It can happen with Lyon and Buffalo, absolutely.
You're right.
And UPL would go back in.
Yep.
But, like, that's the weird thing in Minnesota. Like, who are they going to go back to?
You go back to Wallstead. You have to, because I didn't think Gustafsson played very well yesterday, and he didn't play well down the stretch. Wallstead's their guy. Yes, they gave up a 9 spot, but how come everybody else got to go back on that ice and then they pulled the goalie?
Yeah, I know it always works out that way.
Everybody else was just a gem in front of Wallstead the other night.
No,
ridiculous.
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Okay. That's it for Jerry because we got too much on our plate here. We got to get to the list. I am having a very difficult time, and it's not helping that I have a lot of people sending in their own ideas.
Probably gold pony picks.
There's so many. Well, you know who had a pony for a while was Gold Dust. Gold Dust had a gold pony. Because, like, wrestlers, a lot of people point out, Jake the Snake, Mr. Perfect had a great one.
Is there anybody
Jake the Snake? What a pony. What a pony.
Well, he had a skullet with a pony. Yeah, that's what it was.
But his ponytail. Jesse Ventura had a skullet with a pony.
I'm trying to think of, though.
There's another list for a month away, so people forget about it.
Yeah.
Listing top 5 skullet ponies. You have to do that in a month.
A skullet pony.
I love the skullet pony. It's so great.
It is like you have got nothing cooking up top, but you have got a glorious pone.
You've just grown it so long in the back.
You're distracting people, but it's glorious.
Yeah, it's so great.
I've been trying to rack my brain because I think there's been, like, we must have worked with somebody here at TSN or at Bell.
Oh yeah, with a
that's
pony.
Had a ponytail.
Absolutely. There was so.
Like
there
Luke
was
Wilson had the bun or whatever.
Luke might be coming up on the list. Yeah, look at Jesse. Look at that skullet pony on Jesse Ventura.
No way could you be bald up top and have a pony like that.
You know what? Crazy. Remember the Van Damme movie where I think it's Lionheart, where he's a street fighter and he fights that one giant at the end, and the guy's completely bald with just a pony out of the back. That's a great look. That guy. I can't remember his name.
Skullet pony.
It's like Pai Mei or something. I think that's Kill Bill. Anyway, I've got my skull. That's not Scullets. I've got the top 5 ponies coming up. We've got golf picks coming up as well. And don't forget, tomorrow, I'm taking you on. Me and Ernie Clement versus you and Ryan Reeves at the Lincoln Cup. We cannot wait for it. It's going to be really exciting. You're going to be able to see it. We're filming it tomorrow, but you're going to see it on June 7th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on TSN. So the result will be just over a month away. We can't wait for it, but that's going to be big tomorrow. Cannot wait to get there back at Copetown. We'll do that. More details tomorrow and throughout the week and leading up to when we finally see it in early June. All right, best bets still to come, top 5 ponies and golf picks. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on YouTube Live.
Bigger, faster, bolder. Sail GP lives here.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
God, what have you done? You're a pink pony girl, and you dance at the club, oh mama.
All right, best bets coming up, and we're also going to get to our golf picks for the Truist Championship at Quail Hollow. But we were inspired last night.
Yeah.
We were inspired, and we would urge people to check it out. We went up live on YouTube Live on TSN's YouTube channel last night. You can find a podcast wherever you download your podcast, the iHeartRadio app, TSN app, tsn.ca.
And you did the rounds after. You were on Jay with the longest tie I've ever seen.
Oh, my God. It was right around your newts. Like,
I'm glad
you got to trim that tie up.
Here, let me tell you what happened.
It was on the floor. It was Ronald McDonald's tie.
It was a Trump tie, basically.
Exactly.
That's one of the goofy ties this guy gave me. So,
so this
I
is my
haven't
fault.
worn it.
Look, the Grim Reaper told me, dude, when I was 19, the tie should be just
right to the top of your belt.
That's
Tip
it.
of your belt. I know that.
That thing was on your newts.
I kept adjusting it, and then I'm like, it's too long, but I'm going with it. I'm doing it. Because Jay's 6'10".
I know.
What does that have to do with your tie?
Because I want to look tall too. I totally agree with you. I knew it at the second I sat down. I'm like, this tie is huge.
This morning I turned on my TV and I'm watching it without sound. I had to stop and I was like, why is his tie on the floor?
I know, it was outrageous.
It was
an outrageous tie.
It was.
It was O's tie.
Buddy,
one of the dumpy ties he gave me.
Just on the way out of Jay's studio, you just dump it in the garbage. Get rid of it.
Oh, it'll never be worn again.
I loved it.
All right, you want me to get to the top 5 ponies?
Yes.
Go ahead, quick.
The
We'll
bad
rip
guy
through
in the Van Damme movie was named Tong Po. Tong Po, that's the guy. Try to get a picture of Tong Po if you can, Joe from the Bridge. All right, number 5. I'm gonna put 2 guys at number 5 because they're both chefs. Salt Bae is in there, and Mario Batali, the redheaded guy.
Yeah.
Remember Mario Batali with his beard and the bad pony? He had a ginger pony.
Yes, I remember that guy.
Okay, so number 5.
There's Salt Bae.
That is a phenomenal looking pony.
It is.
Like Salt Bae's a big shooter, man. Apparently, like people from all around the world can't wait to get to one of his restaurants and hang out with
this guy.
Steaks are like
$1,200 now.
I know.
They don't even care about the steak. They just want him to do the stupid
They want Salt Bae.
Exactly.
Number 4, Michael Bolton. Bolton.
Yes.
Oh, there's Batali.
Oh, yeah, Batali.
So there's Mario Batali. That's a phenomenal pony.
Yes.
Like he really rocked it well. But okay, moving on. Number 4, Michael Bolton with his sags.
Yes.
Dude, he would.
Michael Bolton was.
And by the way, you said it wrong. It's a perm pony because Michael Bolton had the curly locks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he had a tight, curly pony with a golf hat on. He'd love to tee it, Michael Bolton.
Yes, he did. He'd always be at the Pro-Am.
Yeah, slowest one of the. Oh, wow!
Pony on Mike
Apparently,
Bolton.
this guy had a circle. Like this guy did damage. Like,
yes.
work.
Women love that guy.
Yeah.
Yes,
Love
that guy
that
pulled
guy.
out the sax and put his hair in a pony. It was go time.
Yeah, and then shoot like a 68 at Cypress Point.
Yeah,
like he is.
Can you imagine seeing Bolton on the range? I'd be like, name the amount, I'll crush you, and he would smoke your ass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'd be getting strokes probably from Mike Bolton.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, I got Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's got to be in there. John Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just, it was a life-changing play,
He
right?
was too cool in that movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Okay, number 2, I got Steven Seagal. All right.
for sure.
Do we have any Gino Felino Joe from the Bridge, did we find any Gino Foligno from Out for Justice?
We got to have a scene.
I mean, we're asking a lot out of Joe.
Tomorrow, though,
looking for all these pictures.
You guys are on it. Friday, we'll have a Seagal scene.
Okay.
There it is.
There he is.
That's when
that guy right there. That's a shocking. That doesn't. There's 5 of those guys inside the new Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I know the new Steven Seagal. Well, and he's got a goatee and glasses now.
I know, but he's also
he's a bigger dude. There's something weird going on with Steven Seagal. I don't know what it is.
Something's going on.
But he was unreal, dude. Like in Under Siege, he had a thicker, crazier ponytail than that.
It was awesome.
And then at number 1. Yeah. I've got our boy Luke Wilson.
Yes.
When he was rocking the pony back in the day.
Luke was like when he first joined TSN. That was his. I
look, want him to grow the full salad back too.
Yeah.
I think he looks more clean cut, maybe possibly a little bit younger.
That.
Dude, that's a man bun pony.
Yeah, he had a man bun pony.
I think he should bring it back. The jet black, like long hair. He looked like just a stud.
He was an Adonis.
Yes.
That's what he was.
Well, that was all throughout his career, right? Like he'd catch touchdowns and do touchdown dances with his ponytail.
That is,
that's a phenomenal
top
look.
pony for sure.
There it is. Yeah, and again, a lot of people reaching out. Roger Federer had a great pony at one point. Remember Roger?
No, I don't remember that at all.
I do not remember Fed.
Oh, dude, it was a phenomenal pony.
Who was the guy who had the wig and had the greatest?
Agassi had made it. I can't believe he admitted all those years after he had he glued his hair on for tennis.
He put it on the lampshade at night.
I
forgot about
Federer's was phenomenal early in his career. That's when he was racking up majors too.
What a stud! He was single at those times too.
Remember the lead singer of Counting Crows too? Remember he had fake hair.
Adam Duritz or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't know he had a fake.
I'm pretty sure that because remember he had the big braids and everything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was.
You think that was
an
fake?
Agassi? I think it was an Agassi.
We should have a top 5 fake salads.
That's a good one too. Skullets and fake salads. We got lots of options.
Not before Skullet ponies.
There's Seagal. Look at Seagal.
He just punched the guy right in the jewels.
Yeah.
Look at this guy's pony.
Just destroying people in the butcher shop.
Like how often do fights break out like that? Where just 5 guys are coming at you with knives
in a butcher shop where they're looking for steaks.
Totally reasonable.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. It's time to find your new fast with QI4D drivers. TaylorMade's fastest, most fittable drivers. Learn more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca/QI4D. I put this in play for the first time this week. Yeah. It is the greatest driver I've ever hit.
It is, man. It's disgustingly
so phenomenal.
Long. It's so good.
And it's like right down the middle, dude. You'll find out tomorrow. Bring your A game. All right.
By the way, you've been doing me dirty with taking I'm taking the first 2 picks, and it's McIlroy and Cam Young.
You're taking the 2 favorites? You think Cam Young's going back-to-back? Okay.
He's gone to another level, man. The way he's driving the golf ball, the way he's rolling the rock.
Yep.
I think he's possibly 3 months away from them talking about a big 3.
I think you might be onto something, but here's a guy who might be the big 4. I'll take Fitzy, my boy. Matt Fitzpatrick is just as hot as Cam Young.
Shoes?
Fitzy with the big shoes and his cross-handed wedge. I'm going to take Ben Griffin, too. He was red hot down the stretch last week. I think he keeps that going at Quail Hollow. Griffin.
I'm going to take, here's my last 3. Ludwig Oberg. I'm going to go Siwoo Kim and Sammy Burns.
Ooh, Sammy and his Peter Millar. That's a really good. And Cam Young. Dialed in Peter Millar.
Yep.
Okay. I'll take Xander. I think he likes this track.
Tommy, you've laid away from your boy Tommy.
But Tommy's only won once. He won at the Tour Championship. Like I love Tommy Fleetwood, but he doesn't actually win like full tournaments. I'll take Tommy.
That's
Tommy
your guy.
Fleetwood. I'll take him. And then you know who's been right there, short of 1 round every single week on tour?
Who?
Jordan Spieth.
Really?
Dude.
I'll take Spieth to get back into the winner's circle.
You took Giordano, my guy.
Yeah, I'll take him, Jordan Spieth. All right, there you go. Golf picks, PGA picks, brought to you by TaylorMade. It's time to find a new fast with QI4D drivers. TaylorMade's fastest, most fittable drivers. Learn more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca/QI4D. There you go. All right. We got
good
golf
stuff.
picks. We got our ponies and best bets powered by FanDuel. I'm on the Habs tonight. Look at Tao Po.
Look
at that dude. Tong Po.
Love it.
That's in Lion King. That's a great movie. I got to watch some of these old school movies. Oh, that's in Kickboxer?
Kickboxer.
Okay, that's in Kickboxer. There's actually another one with a guy, I think it might be Andre the Giant's brother, literally his brother.
His
who's
real
got
brother.
A pony, and he's about 6'8", and he fights Van Damme in a pool.
Really?
Yeah, and there's like just a little bit of water left in it. It's an awesome scene.
The ponies did well today.
Ponies are alive and well. I love it. Okay, anyway, I'm on the Habs tonight. Best bets powered by FanDuel. Looking forward to that game tonight.
Great game.
Swept today, off tomorrow, back in action on Friday with the Angels in town. Good stuff today.
Yeah,
Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and, of course, up on YouTube Live. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Ponwa Special, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.